In this episode, I'm here with Corbyn May. Corbyn is one of our performance coaches at Loud Rumor, and I've got to tell you, this guy is one of the smartest guys I've met in the industry.
I would find competitors, right? And so a little bit, I want to find out what their coaches are doing. I want to find out who their coaches are.
He's been with Orangetheory for 3 years and has helped train over 300 salespeople and over 100 coaches in his time in the industry.
Because if you can't have a conversation, and you're the business owner, you're hiring them, right? How are they going to be able to have conversations with your members?
And today, we're going to be talking a ton about ways that fitness studios can be way more successful when looking at sales and the operations as a whole with marketing and selling their memberships.
It creates the environment when there's 36 people in a room and there's amazing energy. It creates this, I have to be here.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GSD show. Today, man, I am excited about today because we got Corbyn May in the house. Corbyn May, welcome to the GSD show, man.
Thanks, Mike, for having me.
Dude, I love when we're able to get Loud Rumor team members up on the show because it really helps people to understand more about not only the people inside the company, but the impact that they're actually making. But you've made a tremendous amount of impact way before you got on the Loud Rumor team, which is why I had to have you on our team. And so in your, how many years you were with Orangetheory, right?
Yeah,
3 years?
Yeah, 3 and a bit, yeah.
3 years with Orangetheory. What'd you do there? What was your job?
Man, I did a little bit of everything, So I came right out of college and was hired on as a sales associate and a coach by Loud Rumor family Amanda Goolsby. So Amanda Goolsby.
So Amanda's been on the show. Yeah. For those of you that haven't watched the episode with Amanda, she's awesome. So go back and watch it. We'll actually put the video right here for everybody watching it. Okay.
Yeah, Amanda's phenomenal. She gave me a great opportunity. From there, by the end of the year, we had just opened our first Orangetheory in Portland. And by the end of that year, end of 2016, they were ready to grow and open more studios. So I was afforded the opportunity to become the youngest regional director in Orangetheory history. I just turned 23 years old and dove right in. From there, helped open 20 locations.
Wow.
12 studios in 1 year, right?
Open 20, meaning 20 pre-sales.
Correct. From a pre-sale right into training coaches and training sales associates and sales staff. It was a phenomenal experience, a crazy ride, crazy scaling. So I took that opportunity, right? We had 20 locations in my region. From there, we built a relationship with Nike as well. So we were actually the first boutique fitness studio on Nike's world headquarters.
Wow.
In Beaverton, Oregon. So we operated a space on Nike's world headquarters and really helped facilitate that relationship between Nike and Orangetheory. And so, after 3 and a bit years, the opportunity to become a performance coach at Loud Rumor, I couldn't resist, right?
Yeah.
What a great opportunity. So it's nice to be here. Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's great, Corbyn. Awesome. So, 20 pre-sales. I'm going to want to dive into that a little bit. I'm also going to want to dive into how you were able to build a relationship with Nike. Because a lot of studio owners have a hard time just building a relationship with the chiropractor down the street to be able to do something, right? So to be able to facilitate that, I want to hear what your process was. When you opened up that many studios in such a short period of time, I see probably the number one challenge that most people are going to have is hiring, building the team around you that can be able to help you operate all those pre-sales, right? And do them correctly, but not just do them one time, doing 20 times. So you've had to, because you can't be lucky 20 times. You have to have a process to hire people, to find, recruit, hire, and train and develop people in order to have successful pre-sales. Because how many members did you get in your average pre-sale?
Really, way at the beginning, we had opened Orangetheory Studios in Portland with 700 pre-sold members.
700.
700 pre-sold members. Orangetheory had, it was the first kind of concept, that kind of first boutique experience, really in Portland, Oregon. But to come back to your point, right? One of the biggest things that one of the biggest challenges was hiring, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, the key to that was to always have a pipeline of people, right? And so
we do the same thing here. So that's good. So talk to me about what you mean by a pipeline of people.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, from a recruiting standpoint, right, I would have potential coach candidates, sales associates come in and regularly take classes and attend community events. So even if we weren't ready to pull the trigger and hire them, they were still a part of it. They were still taking our workout, and they were kind of on the bench, right? Ready on the bench, waiting for that opportunity, waiting for that next studio to open, right?
Yeah.
And we always kind of had one ready to go.
Where do you find them?
That's a good question.
Because, like, let's say you opened up a studio, like you just found out you're going to do a pre-sale right now, right here in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah.
All right, you need a team. Well, what do you need? What do you need on your team right now?
Right, a team, right? So, I think sometimes you have to have a balance between people that have been in the industry and people that are brand new to the industry that have this excitement, Orangetheory was really the first group fitness class that I had ever taught. I had a background in exercise science, but, you don't always have to hire somebody with 10, 15 years of experience, right? And so, really coming back into that, I mean, I'm looking for hunger. I'm looking for wanting to be a part of something new, wanting to be a part of, this community, right? And really build something, and at the forefront of that, really, for me, the first thing is they have to care about others, right? And so that was my first criteria, finding someone to care about others. I can teach anyone how to coach an Orangetheory class, right? But I can't teach you how to care about others, how to be a good human being, right?
So let's talk about that real quick. I want to go into how do you identify if somebody's hungry? How do you identify if somebody cares? But before we go into what makes that person, let's start with positions. So let's say okay, Corbyn, here you go, start a pre-sale. I need you to get 800 members, ready to go before we open up in 3 to 4 months.
Right.
Okay. So in your mind right now, what type of positions do I need and how many people, right? How many people, what positions are they in and what are they accountable for doing?
Right. Immediately you want a pre-sale manager, right? Someone heading up the operation. And for me, that person is looking to build relationships immediately within the community, right? Because you got to have community presence. Even if you're a brand new concept, right? And no one has ever heard of you, right? People will gravitate to another person.
Would you recommend the studio owner is that person, or would you recommend they hire that person?
Yeah, and really you got to look internally as a studio owner. What are your strong suits, right? What are your strengths? And
the time you have available, like if you've got 3 other things going on.
Exactly, right? If you don't have that passion for selling, yes, you have a passion for fitness, and that's completely okay. But if you don't have that passion for selling, and pre-sales are long and hard. These are long hours,
right?
No-show appointments. You're selling something, and it hasn't even opened yet.
It doesn't even exist yet.
Right, exactly. And you're working off a flip book, really, with just some pictures, right?
Right.
If you don't have the ability to send them to a location because you're a brand new location, you really have to build value in what you're building.
So pre-sale manager, what else do you need?
From there, I think you also need to have at least one sales associate, right? And this is that kind of minimum wage person, that $10 to $15 an hour person that you can really get kind of part-time to full-time hours out of. And again, I use that because you also want them to be enthusiastic about it, right? And they want to start building relationships, and they want to have kind of that first foot in, right? And that's really kind of, you're looking for those 2 people, and if it's not you, that's completely okay. But those 2 people that are ready to sit across from someone and really sell them or build value on this new product, this new venture that you're starting.
So just with those 2 people alone, you should be able to have enough of a team to execute a pre-sale that should be able to generate 500 plus new members before day 1.
Correct, yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. And it really doesn't cost so much. One of them's minimum wage, basically, right? 10 to 15 an hour. And the other person, I don't know, what would you put them at? $3,000, $4,000, $5,000? I mean, what would you put them at monthly?
About that kind of range.
$4,000 or $5,000.
And I think this person has to be incentivized as well, right?
So paid on commissions.
Commissions, or really with the goal, right? If we
bonus.
open at this, right, and a realistic, healthy goal, but that opening day bonus. Now, one thing you also have to be careful of as well, right? When signing people up for memberships, if we sign them up and then we have a 3-month pre-sale, right? we need them to come in 3 months later. So we've sold them on the idea, we've sold them on the concept, they've signed this membership agreement, but we need them to come in. And from my experience, we're looking at about a 10 to 15% drop off, that kind of 10 to 15%. So if you're opening at 300 members pre-sold, you can really account for about 30 to 45 of those dropping off from my experience.
It's just so much time has gone by.
So much time, yeah.
So as far as positions go, we got that. You said you want to make sure that they're hungry, which makes sense because they've got to be able to chase a goal, right? That's their bonus, depends on it. If you're not hungry, you're not going to get the bonus.
Right.
And you got to know that they care, like they're doing the right thing for the member, and they understand they have empathy, and
Right.
they can have that type of conversation. So what type of questions do you ask in an interview in order to determine if somebody's hungry or if somebody cares?
Yeah, without a doubt. And some people like to have a full list of questions. For me, I want to be able to sit across from the person, and I ask myself, can I have coffee with this person? Can I have lunch with this person? Because if you can't have a conversation, and you're the business owner, you're hiring them, right? How are they going to be able to have conversations with your members, right? And so ideally, the process for me actually was that they would come in and take a workout right away, right? So they would come into our studio, right? And I wouldn't even be there to meet them. So they would come in and they would go through the whole process kind of themselves, right? And I would ask the sales associate and the coach these two questions, right? How did you like them, right? What was kind of their response, right? Were they polite? Were they patient, right? When we were getting their client intake form and this is a candidate, right? And then for the coach, I asked them, how did they receive feedback, right? So I already have asked two people of my team thoughts on that coach before I've even met them, right?
Got it.
And so I want to know that they're able to receive feedback, and I want to know that they're kind to the person that makes $10 an hour at the front desk. Those are really my two criteria
Right.
to even have an interview, right? And then really, from there, I want to sit across from someone, we can talk about kind of experience, but I want to see their passion for my workout, right?
Okay.
Because if they're 10 years, 15 years, they've done spin, they've done every workout under the sun, right? I want them to be passionate about what we're about to do, right? And that's why I kind of have that balance of, somebody that has all the experience, but then also that new person coming into the industry that's wide-eyed and ready to learn, and we talked a little bit about this as well, right? Making it about others, right? I want to find that no ego, right? No ego, no bad attitude, and somebody that just cares about others. So I'm listening for experiences. I'm listening for examples that they can give me of where they've made it about others rather than themselves, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. So where do you find them though? Because I think we kind of touched on it, but the difference is, well, what if you don't have 19 other locations where you can start fishing from one pond and putting fish in another, right? So how do you, like right now, if you had to open one up and you don't have other locations to pull people from, where do you find a pre-sale manager? Where do you find a sales manager that you can be confident in like the next week?
And that's a lot of recruitment, right? You got to look, if I was in building a business now in Scottsdale, I would find competitors, right? And so a little bit, I want to find out what their coaches are doing. I want to find out who their coaches are as well. So I would regularly take workouts at studios in my area, right? And I would call the studio and say, hey, I'd love to book my class. Who's your favorite coach, right?
Got it.
And if the sales associate is going to lead me into who kind of their favorite coach is, right? So that's one avenue, right, of kind of recruiting already fitness coaches in kind of the area. And then from then, I think LinkedIn is a great source, and then kind of dropping down into kind of that Indeed and stuff like that as well. But ideally, you want to get kind of that big pool of people. Another example as well is reaching out to universities and colleges. That's how I came out, right? Anyone with an exercise science or a health sciences program, right? Contacting the dean of that and letting them know that you're starting a new fitness venture, right? And you're looking for kinesiology majors, exercise physiology majors.
Because that's the biggest stress, right? Is like, I want to make sure that these college kids have work when they get out of college, that they can put their degree towards, so they don't feel like they wasted it.
Right, and that's the pipeline, right? The pipeline is maybe they're not ready to coach right now because they don't have that certification,
Right.
but maybe they work as a sales associate. Maybe they're a part of that, right? And then they're ready to kind of be funneled in.
That's actually how I got started too. Like I wasn't certified as a trainer yet, so they had me selling stuff until I got certified. And once I got certified, they flipped me and put me on the floor.
Right. Hybrids are phenomenal. I was a hybrid when I first started, right? Because we talk that we want our coaches to be able to sell, and coaches are really the ones building the value in it. But then you also have to be able to close the deal as well.
Right,
So,
right.
I did 20 and 20. I coached 20 classes and did 20 hours behind the front desk as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So you operated 20 at one time too. Not only did you do 20 pre-sales, you also operated 20 at one time, meaning
Right.
you were managing the studio managers. Is that what you were doing?
Yeah. So each location had a studio manager and a head of fitness.
And they reported to you.
Correct. Yes.
And your job was to make sure that they were succeeding in their goals, and the goals could be revenue, it could be retention, it could be
Right.
employee happiness, culture, all that stuff.
Correct. All of that. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I mean, you've had to have learned a lot of stuff along the way because you didn't just have one studio. See, the thing is, if you have one studio, that just gives you one set of experience, right?
Right.
Maybe you learned some stuff with culture because that was a big issue that you overcame, but you never really dealt with, let's say, marketing issues because you had right next to an amazing, corner where everyone's coming through,
Yeah.
or vice versa, or whatever. So in your case, you had 20 unique studios.
Right.
What are some of the things that you learned along the way that you think can now help you really help so many other studios like you're doing?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is the details. Again, I worked for one of the largest privately held fitness companies in North America. The CEO of the company, Jamie Weeks, an amazing mentor. Really was everything for him was in the details, and that transcended down. And
How many studios did he have?
that's 54, which has actually just turned to 72 most recently.
So he owns 72 fitness studios.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's the person that was mentoring you.
Correct.
And you said it's in the details.
Right. It's all in the details, and something that I think gets overlooked quite a lot as well as owners is in the cleanliness. Right. For him, it was all about cleanliness. It started with cleanliness. The studio is an extension of you. It's an extension of your name, right? And really, we had to make sure that everyone was proud to be in that studio, right? I think a statistic, 70% of women cancel gym memberships because of cleanliness.
No
right?
way,
Right?
really?
An unbelievable amount of people, right? We want people to be proud of the studio, and we want our staff to be proud of the studio that they work in as well. So that was a deep clean every single month, staff cleaning regularly, and as a leader, really leading from the front. The other thing as well is, really kind of the details of small ancillary sales, right? So at Orangetheory, we had the heart rate monitors, right? But even smaller than that, we had late cancellations, right? These kind of no-show fees of just $12, right? And it was amazing the correlation between successful studios, right, that focus on all of the details, right, and charge those cancellation fees and sell those heart rate monitors. These ancillary sales really drive that bottom line and make a company more profitable.
Wow. I want to go on that really quick. Booking with a credit card.
Yeah.
So a lot of studios have a hard time getting people to show up to their scheduled appointments. And you didn't have that issue as much because you actually held their appointment with a credit card.
Correct.
And if they showed, no big deal, they weren't charged. But if they didn't show, you charge them $12.
So, sorry to be more specific. This $12 charge was for members that didn't show up to their workout.
So, well, that's even better, right? Because now you've got people that are already paying you money,
Right.
and it's a way of you using it as a tool to hold them accountable to showing up,
Right.
and that's the story, which is true.
100%. Yeah.
But it's also ancillary sales for you, but you also on the lead side, you also scheduled people by holding a credit card, right?
Yes. And yeah, really that two parts of that, right? that $12 was an accountability fee. And really, we didn't want the $12, right? Ideally, we would like that person showing up, using our facility, getting results, right? Ideally, they tell 5 others, and that's really how we grow. But that $12 was really an accountability fee for not showing up, right?
Wow.
Then on the other side as well, way at the beginning of the sales process, yes, we built value in the product right away, right? If I book a hair appointment, if I go to a spa, they take my credit card. So why are fitness studios really any different, right? We're building value. We're a premium boutique experience.
Just
right?
people are just afraid to ask. Well, I want to go to the members, and then I want to go into the bookings.
Sure.
Okay, so with your existing members, because I remember, my wife I think still does Orangetheory, and I did it for about a summer, and I remember there were like 3 or 4 occasions where I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to make it today, but I already booked a class.
Right.
And I even said, like, dude, just charge me. I know it's my fault, just charge me. Because I felt bad.
Sure.
So it wasn't even like I was fighting it. Now, I don't know, maybe you do have people that fight it. I didn't fight it. So how many of those would you collect on a monthly basis?
Right, and
per studio?
Well, I think, the key to this as well is the way that you propose it when they're signing up their membership agreement, right? I think people don't like when things are surprised, right? But on the membership, right, when the membership agreement lays out, here's the cancellation fee if you no show, right? If you late cancel, and also here's the 30-day notice, right? When you get them to initial next to those two, right? When you get that signature, really the pressure is off you, right? And so making that sale, and again, coming back to these late cancellations, we had studios that were 400 members and we had studios that were 1,200 members, right? And so in the lower studios, we were able to pull in that additional revenue that would really help kind of the bottom line. But it really
But how many? How many people? How many would you guess? Like if let's say I have 500 members,
right?
How many $12 charges would you say I'd collect?
Probably about 8 to 12 a day.
Per day?
Per day.
Get out of here.
Right.
You're talking $120 a day.
Right.
Hold on.
Just by doing it right. Yeah.
And you guys were open 6 days a week, right?
7. All 7.
Okay, so you're talking, let's say, that's an extra $3,600 a month. That's an extra $43,000 a year.
Right. Now you see the details. Right?
And there's no, and that's profit. There's no cost associated to that.
No.
Except maybe a merchant fee, which is like 2%.
Right.
So
That's a detail. Small details, right? That really matter.
That's a free employee.
Yeah.
Dude, it's
Phenomenal.
awesome. So, all right. So that's one. That's great. But now booking, in order to secure the likelihood of somebody showing up to an appointment, you ask for the credit card at the booking, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So talk to me about how that works. Let's say you're scheduling me right now, okay? And you confirm with me 6 o'clock works. I'll show up at 5:30 early.
Right.
How do you present to me that you're going to have to collect a credit card?
So now that we've got your appointment all set up, Mike, just to let you know, we are reservation based here at Orangetheory, so I will need a debit or credit card to hold your spot in class. Again, this is completely complimentary, but I just will need that debit or credit card. I'm ready when you are, right? So I control the conversation.
Okay,
right?
now let's say I were to say, okay, are you going to charge it though?
Absolutely not. This is completely complimentary. It just holds your spot in our class. We're reservation based.
Okay. All right. So what if I don't show up?
Yeah, without a doubt. Ideally, right, we would ask that you give us some notice on that as well. But again, nothing will be charged. We don't want to charge you. We'd rather you show up.
Okay, but if I don't show up, am I getting charged?
If you do it a couple more times, then probably yes.
Okay, so
Right.
so basically, you're letting me know that nothing's going to happen. However, if we make a habit of this, then
Right.
you'll charge it.
Right, and again,
And
we
I felt
want
safe
people
with
to
that.
show up, right?
Yeah. A lot of people are just afraid to ask because they think just by asking, it's like this big like hook and a way to get your money. But it's like even in this role play right now, I was totally comfortable with it. Especially when I dug in, and I was like, okay, but are you gonna charge me if I don't show up? You were like, if you do it a few times. Now it makes me feel like, okay, cool, I can slip if I need to.
Sure.
And it will be okay.
Yeah, and this is for leads, right? This is for leads booking appointments,
Right,
right?
right.
This isn't for our members. For our members,
course. There's no leeway.
There's no leeway, of course, right? They know what they signed. But for leads, we want them to have that positive opening experience with us, right?
Right.
And we don't want to charge something. So I don't suggest it. But one thing you'll notice just by booking with a credit card, it's staggering. I think the statistics showed that you get about 40% more of a show rate just by asking for a credit card. And also you really feel out that commitment, right? Like they're committed to something. And one of the great things that kind of final question that you ask, and I learned this one, from you, was that final question of, right, Mike, good, we got the credit card on file, right? Looks like we're going to see you at 5:30 tomorrow morning. And one last thing, why are you making time for this?
Yeah, it's one of my
Why
favorite
are you
questions.
showing up, right? It's that final thing. Now, that's 40% alone on the credit card, and that one additional question is what separates you from the others, right?
Wow. I love that you're going into this, because the funny thing is we haven't gone into this on this show. And definitely not charging members. We haven't gone into that. So that's really good. One of the things that you talked about earlier, and I want to make sure, because I talked to my team about this too, is, ego, and hiring people that don't have an ego. So I think ego has been redefined by society, right? Like the word humble has been redefined by society. So humble is the person that's, not cocky, and ego is the person that is cocky, right? That's kind of how it's been redefined. But in reality, I think as you develop a skill set, you have an ego. There's nobody that doesn't have an ego, and the more skills you develop around something, the bigger your ego is going to be.
Right.
The difference between successful people and unsuccessful people are the people that don't let their ego get in the way of success.
Right.
And I've seen that even with you, in like, you're good, and you know your stuff, but I've seen the way you communicate with Matt or me or Dan or anybody else, and you're always willing to learn. You're always willing to be a student. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the same thing for a lot of the people that you're mentoring right now. I've noticed the people that are the most successful, well, all of them are pretty much successful,
yeah.
but I've noticed a common trait is these people are business owners that, they're doing well already, mm-hmm. but they just they suppress the ego in order to learn. And that's, I think, super, super important. So I wanted to touch on that, because I like when people don't have the defined version of an ego, but I think you're going to have one. Yeah. I've got an ego. You've got an ego.
Right.
Everyone's got it, because we know we're good. You work that hard at something, you're going to be good.
Right. And I think that, I want to be confident. I want to portray myself as a confident leader.
Right.
But also, I want to be a leader that not only respects you and is willing to take mentorship and development, but is also willing to take leadership or development from somebody making $10 an hour. Right. You can learn from both. And it is that type of mentality,
Absolutely.
Right? It's that type of walking into the studio, right? And what can I do for others today? Right. That's what from an ego, yes, I was confident. I coached classes, I loved coaching, and as I got, as I grew, I opened more studios and I really kind of got into this fancy title, this director, right? But at the end of the day, when you walk into the studio with the same mindset of how can I make it about others?
Right.
How do I make it about others? Because others, when you make it about other people, they'll make it about you.
Right.
But if you only make it about yourself, no one ever wants to make it about you. Right?
And that's that phrase, right? Like, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right. 100%.
You have studios that have over 1,200 members, right?
Yeah.
And you were managing these studios, and I mean, how many square feet? 3,000-4,000?
Yeah, we're at about 32.
And honestly, like, Orangetheory has a lot of lobby space, and so like in reality, if you had a 3,200 square foot place, you're really only using 2,500 square feet of floor space, if that.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you operate a studio with 1,200 plus members?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that sounds like there's a lot of people not getting in their desired time slots.
Right. And I think let's be we have to be realistic, right? There's 1,200 members, right? And we were at Orangetheory, we're able to get 36 to 45 workouts, depending on how many stations we had per hour, right? And so we really kind of have to be realistic. I'm working with brands right now that only have 4 spots per class, right? So that 1,200 isn't really realistic.
Especially if they're Pilates and they have the reformer
Exactly,
machines.
right? There's only so many people. So you have to be kind of realistic by kind of setting goals. Not everyone's going to have that 1,200 members, but you can have the revenue like you have 1,200 members, right? And it's really the value of the client, right? And the cost kind of there as well. There kind of reaches that, it's an amazing point, right? You reach that point in your business where, you think you're at capacity, and it kind of goes two ways, right? It creates the environment when there's 36 people in a room and there's amazing energy. It creates this I have to be here. I don't know why yet. I'm finding out about a brand, but I have to be here. So there's really that sweet spot, and for me, it was right around like 700 members.
Right.
And from there, really, there's not a whole lot of additional revenue that needed from 700 to 900 members. You already have the classes set up. You don't actually have to add much more from 7 to 900. The next 200 were actually going to be all profit. But when the classes are full, when you have that right amount of classes and the right amount of flow, right, it creates this buzz, it creates this energy, and it's like, I don't know yet, but I need to be here, and sales become a lot easier. Now, the other thing to touch on, when some people are going to ask about square footage, one of my most successful studios was also one of my smallest ones, right? And it was tight. The lobby was...
How big was it?
Right, and we're talking, 28, right? 28.
Including lobby space.
Right. This is including lobby space.
Which you're talking maybe 1,800 to 2,000 floor space.
Right, and so when we get in, we're 36 people in the class, 36 people about to come into the next class, right? It creates kind of this, again, this energy. You have to talk to the person next to you, right? And when we talk about building community in a business, right, when that lobby space is too big, it allows people to be wallflowers. It allows them to hide, right?
I've noticed that in class. I mean, it's like a cram, waiting for the next class. It's crammed in the lobby.
There's a balance, right? Some people don't kind of like that
Not
sardines,
too bad,
right?
but like we're talking.
But it's also like, you kind of got to talk to the person next to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, guess what? Now we've started community.
Right.
Now we've started building relationships and stuff like that as well. So there really is that sweet spot. But from an operating standpoint, if you have 400 members or 1,200 members, there still needs to be the same systems, processes involved. The only difference is they might have a little bit more staff, right?
Wow, that's awesome. When you were working in the UK, right? You had studios that you managed in the UK,
right?
And in Portland, right? Were there other places as well?
Again,
were you in Atlanta or something like that too?
Yeah, the home base was Atlanta. Yeah,
okay.
As well, yeah.
So, I mean, obviously you've had to sell, and you've had to learn from people like Jamie, right? Who's really focusing on building and scaling these things up. So, you've probably learned a lot in sales. What are some things in sales that you personally have learned that you still take with you today because they're so important? Right, to what you do and how you operate. Right,
and this kind of goes back into the idea, in Portland, right? It's the keep it weird city, right? The keep it weird, right? So we had some different people walk in, right? And one of the biggest things is when I talk to people, we talk about bad leads, right? And I know it kind of gets under your skin, right? This bad leads, crappy leads.
Well, not everyone talks about it. Usually bad operators talk about bad leads.
Right? And right, like we operated in the city of kind of keep it weird, so we definitely had some interesting people walk through the doors. But everyone is walking through the door for a reason. Right? It doesn't matter if maybe they're not wearing the ideal Lululemons that day that you think is your target customer and audience, but you can never really write that person off. For me, if they were happy at their gym, right? If they were happy what they were currently doing, they wouldn't have walked into your studio today, right? And
there's something there.
Right, exactly. And we talk about building value, right? And people cancel memberships. They don't cancel relationships, right? And building that value and building that human connection, right? People just seek human connection. That's why they're walking into your studio. So there really is no such thing as a bad lead. The other advice that, I'd love to give as well to coaches is to really understand that not everyone wants to run at 12 miles per hour on the treadmill, right? You have to find what's going to be success to that person. Maybe it's walking from being a walker to a jogger. That's success, right? And finding that. So your recommendations, your prescription needs to be specific to that person, right? And you're trying to pull that out from them, right? So it doesn't matter if we're really in the UK, Portland, Oregon, Atlanta, wherever we really are. People are in search of human connection, right? We have to build that value, and we really have to build that relationship with them.
That's awesome. When you have all these, were you traveling? Were you just flying nonstop to all these different spots?
I got a little bit. Yeah, with I got some good miles. Yeah, I got some good miles on me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, when it came to sales, like, because obviously I'm a sales guy. I love sales. Right. What are some things that you feel are the easiest things to pick up? Like they were just like, okay, just if you do this one thing well, it's going to make a much bigger impact in your studio than anything else. Whether it has to do with answering a phone, or how you call a lead, or how you follow up, or some text messaging stuff, or a closing. What's one thing that you can give the audience? So you're just like, just do this one thing, and you'll notice it's a lot better.
Asking why.
Okay.
Right? For me, we experience people that walk into the studio and they say, I want to lose 15 pounds, I want to lose 10 pounds, right? And you can accept that answer at face value, but there is always a reason why behind that.
Usually it's about 3 or 4.
Right. And so, I'll go to a story. I was 22 years old. I was just a couple months in, and we're filling out a client intake form with a lady, and she kind of told me, look, I want to lose about 15 pounds. And I thought to myself, it's a tough question. You're asking another person why. And I said, why? And she said, I don't like the way I look. And I just paused to take it in, right? And she kind of felt this another reason why, right? I wanted to kind of really dive into that, but I wanted to be mindful. And she said, I hate the way my husband looks at me. So I'm 22 years old, right? And it's just like a stab in the heart.
Right.
But I have found the why of the why of the why. And that is when I have that relationship. That's when I have that connection with someone. And that's when we're in this together, right? And so we can take answers at face value, right? And it really goes back into kind of that human connection that I talk about. We can take things at face value, or we can challenge, or we can really be inquisitive. And it's kind of the way that you approach. But asking the question why is really, why of the why of the why, right? Ask it twice. And you will have that person because you've built that relationship, you built that connection, and you're now going to tell them that you're here for them and that what we're going to do together, and that this is going to help them.
And then it can be done. It's a big thing too. A lot of people are just, I always talk about this on the show, the 2 reasons people don't buy is because they're not the decision maker or they're not certain it's going to work.
Right.
Once you're certain it's going to work, as long as you have the ability to make the decision,
right,
you'll pay whatever you need to.
100%.
Right?
I completely agree.
People are spending way more money on stuff that most people would classify as can't afford it.
Yeah.
Than they are on a gym membership, right? Like those people that can't afford it also have Apple stuff, and Apple sells the most expensive everything, and they don't make their money because they're only selling to rich people.
Yeah.
Okay, really quick, I want to do a quick checking, so we're going to dive into some more stuff here. But for anybody that wants to actually talk with Corbyn, you could do so while this is happening right now. So just give us a call, 480-750-9774. Ask for Corbyn. Again, it's 480-750-9774. I'll give it to you one more time, 480-750-9774. And a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here, this is stuff that you're coaching a lot of these fitness studios on through Loud Room or Virtual Training, or LRVT, right? Yeah. And I talked about this on the show quite a bit, so most people know, but for those of you that don't know, you can just go to whatislrvt.com. So LRVT, that stands for Loud Roomer Virtual Training. So whatislrvt.com. You'll actually be able to see Corbyn's bio on there, as well as Matt Kafora, the other person they get weekly masterminds with, and you'll see a whole video that breaks it down. But you've now gotten a chance to coach, like you said, people that could only fit 4 people in a studio, right? All the way to people that are in very similar situations as Orangetheory, and some can even fit more. So I want to dive into that. I want to dive into, how do you coach, right? Like how do you actually give that input? How do you teach people how to, sell memberships, right? And I also want to go into the deal that you did with Nike. I want to understand more about that as well. And then we'll kind of take it from there. Is that cool?
Sure. Yeah.
And then for everybody watching, listening, just make sure if you're liking what you're seeing so far, just hit that button, the like button, and just heart the thing up there. Let people to know this is a great episode. Comment on it. We definitely would like your comments. In fact, just put a comment right now. We'll wait. Let's put some Jeopardy music. There you go. Just put a comment. Good. Okay, put a comment. Now, for those of you listening on iTunes or Spotify or Stitch or anything like that, you had nothing to do, but hopefully you were able to check a text really quick. Okay, so you're coaching people, which is nothing strange to you, because how many salespeople did you coach through the Orangetheory program?
Yeah, probably from a collective, 300 plus salespeople, another 150 plus fitness coaches from there.
So you've been coaching people on being more successful. And then you also had to coach the studio managers to make sure they were successful, hold them accountable, and give them the tools that they needed to grow, succeed, and then you can move on to the one that's struggling, right? So this is something you've been doing, which is why I wanted to have you on this performance coaching team, because we have studio owners that need what you've been doing and the way that you've been able to help people. So how do you coach? Like let's say I'm a client of yours. how are you coaching me? What's like your strategy on getting me to understand, learn, and then execute?
Right. Coming back to really what is lrvt.com. Again, people can access it on that and to kind of get an idea. For me, it's every business owner's, every fitness studio business owner's dream. Right. There's some amazing content, absolutely incredible content, and part of what is or part of LRVT team is a monthly coaching session with myself and weekly coaching sessions, weekly group coaching sessions on a mastermind with Matt Kafora, right?
Which Matt put his episode up here. Matt's got 7 fitness studios. He's got 20 businesses. All his businesses are doing 7 or 8 figures or more. And he's able to work at Loudermer full time because none of his businesses actually need him. They're operating
Right.
that high in revenue without him having to be there. So you get weekly with him, monthly with you. What else?
And to come back into really your question, right? And if you're a business owner, thinking about or what is LRVT, I as a coach, we're going to work together to find about 3 to 4 pain points that are in your business, right? And we're going to, in minutes, we're going to be able to find solutions. But I'm not going to give you the solutions. We're going to work together, right? Let's go back, right? I played soccer, right? We don't always get the answers, right? Our coach coaches us to solutions. So we're going to work together. I'm going to use my experience from what I've been doing the last few years, but also I'm going to use this virtual training platform, which has hundreds of videos that already have people like yourself, Matt Kafora, myself, Amanda Goolsby, some,
Rick Mayo,
right,
Frank Nash.
right.
I mean, people that are successful people
Yes.
in the space, right?
Right. And so that way, we're able to condense time, that we're able to find those pain points, find solutions, and I'm able to point you in a direction and coach you in a direction while still using the virtual training videos that you're able to do kind of in your own time as well.
And your team.
Correct. Yeah. And so, really in Team LRVT, you're also part of a community, right? You're part of a network of like-minded individuals who are also in a similar circumstance with you, whether or not you're in pre-sales or whether you've been open for 5, 11, 14 years, right? You're part of a collective network and community.
Right.
On top of...
I actually think that's probably been one of the most valuable for people because even for me, I've now spent almost $400,000 in coaching in the last 4 years, right? And for me, the most value, I mean, definitely the value I get from the coach has been great, right? Bar none from especially some of these guys. But it's been able to know I can reach out to all the other people that are being coached by him along the way and other people and communicate with them. Because these are people that they invest in themselves, time and money into learning. And so maybe in their coaching sessions, they solved other problems and they figured it out that I didn't get to yet. And I learned from all these people collectively with my coach.
Right. And it's lonely being a business owner, right? If you're a
yeah.
single owner operator, it's lonely out there and you never get a pat on the back, right? You don't get that coaching because you're responsible for this pyramid, this team, right? You're at the top of the pyramid, the rest everyone's below you, right? But in this community, right, we shout each other out, right? Everyone has their own successes, everyone has their own wins, and it could just be daily wins. One of the best things that I'll use this example, Matt Kafora's weekly mastermind, right? And so just on a Monday call, within 12 hours, I'll use the suggestion, a pre-sale. There's a pre-sale unit out of Texas, right? Sonal, right. So Sonal out of Sugarland,
Spenga.
Spenga, right. So she's in pre-sale right now. This is kind of her first, fitness business and stuff. It's December, right, and so she's having issues with getting a hold of people, right, getting a hold of leads, right. They're not able to get them. I gave her a little bit of advice. I pointed her in the direction of some videos, and then she also asked the same question on the mastermind call with Matt Kafora, right. He said, do video texts, switch it up, do selfie videos and send that person and send your selfie video to them. Just to completely switch it up. Don't do the generic text, don't do the generic calls, switch it up.
Especially during this time of year.
Especially, right? And so, log in the next day, right? And now we get a message, right? Hey, the videos worked amazing. We actually converted a few leads to memberships that hadn't even answered the phone or hadn't even responded to us.
Wow.
So by the end of the day, by receiving that video, within a couple hours, they had already converted members based upon one idea. Now,
Not booked appointments, members.
converted members, right? And just by being creative. And that's what this is all about. It's a part of the collective, right? And virtual training platform has tips, strategies, techniques, and on that, right? Matt has unbelievable experience, right? Myself as well with this coaching call. That really, like I said, it's every business owner's dream, right?
Absolutely. I love it, man. So Corbyn, we are out of time almost, man, but I wanted to talk about the Nike deal. So let's do this. I liked what we did so much. Let's have you come on again another time. We'll talk about the Nike deal. We'll also talk about some other stuff. I'll make sure I have some other questions because I feel like I learned a ton from you going off. So we'll have to make a part 2 of this episode. Yeah. And then in the meantime, I mean, people can get coached by you. You're about to go do some trainings in LRVT as well.
Correct, yeah.
So if you guys want to watch those trainings, or just want to talk to Corbyn directly, you can just get on a call with him for free right now. Just go to call 480-750-9774. Again, it's 480-750-9774. Get on a call with Corbyn or one of the people on Corbyn's team and be able to get some assistance. Cool?
Yeah.
Corbyn, man, thank you so much. I hate that we're out of time, but it's true. We got to do it. So really quick, what would you say about anybody on the fence that might be like thinking about joining Loudermore VT? You know, what would you say to them?
Yeah, without a doubt, you know, and really, let's be honest, right? If you had all the answers, you wouldn't need to listen to podcasts. You wouldn't need to listen to development. So you're already subscribing to something right now. It's free, right? This is free. This conversation is free, right? And if you've picked up any tips, any techniques, if you've even jotted down, you know, one note from our conversation, then this has helped you, right? Now think about what we can do on a monthly call, on a weekly call, right? And then with this community that's specific to you and your business, right? Like you're listening to this right now. So you're actually becoming a lead of mine, right? So you're actually kind of you've bought in, right? I've built value over the last 40 minutes, 45 minutes or so, right? So I'm building value just in this. Now, what do I do, right? I gotta close you, right? And so the best example of this, if you're complaining that you're short on leads, that you're not converting enough members, right? Or that you're frustrated with your studio manager, you don't have systems and processes or operations, right? All of this is what we're gonna do to kind of help you, right? Your least favorite customer, the most frustrating customer, right, is that person that walks into your studio, says, I want to lose 25 pounds. You take them through an amazing workout, right? So you've taken them through this amazing workout. You've built all of this value, just like I've done for the last little bit. I've built the value. I've shown you all of it. You'd say, look, in order to get those results, you got to do this 3 to 4 days a week, right? And then they don't sign up. That's your most frustrating person. Well, if you're asking, right, like, how am I short on leads? Why am I not able to convert members? You're actually the equivalent of that person that's 25 pounds over. You're your own worst enemy, right? And so, you have to invest in yourself, right? And you have to be ready to invest and take the chance on Team LRVT, right? Loud Rumor, the GSD show, this is all reputable, right? This is a credible brand. You wouldn't put something out there if it was unaffordable and didn't have value, right? Like you wouldn't, we couldn't look people in the eye and say this was going to work for them, right? So really, to anyone that's on the fence, what's stopping you, right? Price, spousal, no time to attend, right? Like what are those objections, right? Because I've built the value, or at least I think I built the value in this last little segment here as well. So really, what's stopping you? So, call the number as well. Hey, it's Corbyn at loudrumor.com, Corbyn at loudrumor.com. I mean, you can shoot me a text directly as well, right? And if you're not ready to invest in yourself, at least invest in your team. Be ready to commit to develop your team. It might be a studio manager, a sales staff, director of operations, whatever that might be. Invest in them. Reach out to us, right? Tell us how many people you want to invest in. And if it's just you, let's do this, right? If you're on the fence, what does a phone call hurt? What does a text message? What does an email hurt to really dive in and help develop you? So that's my message for anyone on the fence.
For everyone watching and everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to like, comment, and share this episode. Review us on iTunes. Leave some ratings. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching. If you like this episode, make sure you subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, or YouTube. And to watch more episodes and get exclusive links from each episode, go to gsdshow.com. Again, that's gsdshow.com.